let me take you back to a time long before brands and innovation departments, long before supply chains and business cases, all the way back to 1366, right here in Belgium, in Leuven, the roots of AB InBev. A time where beer wasn't just an FMCG. It was a ritual. It was a source of trust in a time where clean drinking water wasn't really guaranteed, but beer was. Beer brought people together. It sustained communities. It gave people joy. It gave people jobs. It was brewed in monasteries. And do you know that monasteries were actually the first multinationals in the world? And it was brewed in kitchens, it was brewed in cellars, and it always stood for something more. Connection, culture, celebration. And that hasn't changed. Not really. The world has changed. Technology changed. But beer always kept showing up to people. Even today, beer is used at celebrations and breakups, at music festivals like Tomorrowland and football games. It's what we use to toast, to love, to life, to tomorrow. And that legacy is what I carry with me every single day. So let's now fast forward to the 2000s. Picture yourself a 22-year young, slightly naive, very curious bioengineering student in Leuven. That was me, a little bit darker hair, more hair as well. And I was drawn to beer, not only because of the parties, and although I must confess, I had my fair share as well. But I was drawn to beer for something much smaller than that, something microscopic. Yeast. And yeast is truly magical. It's like a symphony orchestra hidden in one single cell. And each strain brings about 200 different aroma compounds in different concentrations. And in the hands of the right person, it can turn water, grains, and hops to something really unforgettable. And yeast taught me something very valuable, that beer can be incredibly complex, but at the same time, universally human. Unique, but inclusive. Then that for every person, there is a beer. So, in my last year of bioengineering, I did my master thesis on fermentation under the supervision of the legendary Belgian beer professor Freddy Delvaux. But then, suddenly, in the middle of the year, my thesis coach left to work for AB InBev. At that time, it was still called Interbrew. And so in the middle of the year, I was still a student. I was handed over this startup in continuous fermentation. And continuous fermentation at that time we thought would be game-changing because it would require much less energy and much less tanks to produce the same amount of beer. So it was really, really ambitious. And I worked day and night, because it's a continuous process, so day and night, to decipher and master this complex fermentation technique. But it didn't work. And it wouldn't work because it's incompatible with the desire for consumers to have a diverse portfolio of beers, because consumers, they want choice. And continuous fermentation only makes sense when you brew just one single beer. So it failed. But despite of the failure, I enjoyed every single minute of it, because it taught me something critical. And I think it's important to share this on Love Tomorrow, because I know there's a lot of innovators and entrepreneurs in this room here today. Invention is not the same as innovation. Invention is to create something new that didn't exist before. But innovation, true innovation, it ripples, it scales, it changes how systems behave. It's not about just being smart, it's being committed to really delivering value. And that's when I made a decision that surprised a lot of people. I decided that I wanted to join AB InBev, the world's leading brewer. And people ask me, why go corporate? Like, why don't you stay in research? Or why don't you start your own brewery? But I told them, I want to make an impact at scale. I don't want to invent in isolation. I want to develop innovations that can reach billions of people, to brew better beer more efficiently. And so today, I lead the Global R&D Center of AB InBev. The long name is Global Innovation and Technology Center, or in short, GTEC. I know it's posh, but if you don't create a branded name for yourself in such a big company, they don't even know you exist. So that's why we did that. But every day, I get to work with the brilliant minds and bravest hearts. People like Pascal and Els, the guardians of our yeast collection, the true treasure of a brewer. Our scientists and flavor magicians who are tirelessly testing, tweaking, and tasting. And they run sensory panels every single day. And they analyze hundreds of different parameters, also every single day, in pursuit of perfection. But it doesn't stop here, because innovation doesn't live in labs alone. It's with our brewers who wake up at dawn to brew for excellence. It's with our farmers who take care of the soil so that the next harvest will be better than the last. It's with our marketeers that turn our beers into meaningful brands to connect with consumers on an emotional level. It's with our finance departments that help us to fund very risky ideas and help us dreaming responsibly. So to all those people, I want to take the opportunity of this stage, all people involved in this journey from field to fridge, and I know there's a lot of them in this audience as well, I want to say thank you. This work, this progress, it's all yours. But what really drives us is not just making great beers. It's exactly this question. How can we use brewing to drive environmental, cultural, and social progress? So let's start with the environment. So we know that beer is made from natural resources. Water, grains, hops, and of course the magical yeast. So if you don't protect nature, we don't protect beer. And that's why we have created systems-level innovations. And yes, of course, we invented some very catchy names too, because another tip that I want to give to the intrapreneurs in this room, and I know there's many people of big companies as well, if you brand your innovations well, you will see that they will scale much, much faster. I can guarantee you that. So let's start with the first technology, simmer and strip. Simmer and strip, if you know what brewers do today, brewers bring a brew to a full boil and they evaporate a lot of water to remove the aromas that they don't want to end up in the beer. What we do with simmer and strip is instead of boiling, we keep the temperature just below the boiling temperature, which we call the simmer. And then at the same time, we're injecting a gas that mimics the vapor bubbles of the boiling to remove the aroma components at the same time. And this way, we save about 80% of the energy in that process step. And by the way, the beer tastes better and will keep fresher for longer as well. Also, maybe another tip for you at home as well, if you want to mimic the same. When you're cooking pasta, the moment that you reach your boiling point, you don't need to keep boiling. Your pasta will get tender anyway. So you can dial down your furnace and you can start simmering So you will reduce also your energy impact at home. So please try this at home. A next resource that we're passionate about is water. So in the 1980s, a brewer took about 8 liters of water to brew 1 liter of beer. Today already, AB InBev worldwide produces 1 liter of beer with only 2.5 liters of water. But we're not satisfied. We want a future where we can produce 1 liter of beer with 1 liter of water. And for that, we have invested in a lot of water recovery technology, purification technologies, but also we have invested in a lot of new brewing techniques, such as this one, high gravity brewing. This means that we're brewing at a much, much higher concentration, which uses less water. At the same time, we also reduce a lot the energy. And it doesn't stop there. Even with packaging, we can have an impact. So if you know that AB InBev sells worldwide on a yearly basis more than 10 billion cans, then what it happens is when you remove just 1 gram out of an aluminum can, you can save 10 million kilograms of aluminum each year. That's massive. That's a lot of carbon. And for that, we didn't even need a Superman. We actually created our own super can. And a super can is something in the middle of a fat can that some of you have received today, and a more sleek can. And it's a perfect middle point of the two, combining the strengths of both. So remember that one, the super can. But we don't stop there. We also innovate in our side streams. So the leftover grains of our brewing process are upcycled to high quality protein and is reused in sports nutrition and protein bars. And all these examples aren't gimmicks. These are invisible revolutions of our supply chain, and this is only possible because of the scale that we operate. But besides sustainable innovation, there is something else that we're very obsessed about, and that is this: quality. Because we don't only want to brew more efficiently, we want to make our beers brilliant. And that means no excuses, no shortcuts, just consistency and care at every single step. And here's what that looks like. That Corona that you're drinking here in Tomorrowland today, that holds the same quality standards as the Corona that you will be able to drink in Tomorrowland in Brazil, in São Paulo, in October this year. And that's not magic. That's meticulous craftsmanship. That's because we analyze every single batch for taste, aroma, color, clarity in real time across all the continents. And even our yeast, we store in our golden vault, and only 3 people in the company have access to it. You can compare it a bit as the Fort Knox of AB InBev. And in the regions, our brewers are still tuning then the recipes to the local ingredients to make sure that every sip of the Corona will taste exactly right. It's the same feeling, the same flavor, whether you're dancing under the Belgian stars tonight or tomorrow under the Brazilian sun. And that's what quality means to us. That no matter where you are in the world, you can count on our beers to deliver joy, connect cultures, and taste exactly right. So now let's talk about culture. So here in Belgium, beer is not just a drink. It's part of our identity. Our beer culture is UNESCO World Heritage. Our cheers are rituals. But culture evolves, and the future generation will also define what it means to belong. And that's why one of the innovations I'm very proud of, maybe the most proud of all, is our innovations in no-alcohol beers. And I still remember 13 years ago when I joined AB InBev, this was one of my first big projects. I had to make no-alcohol beer taste as good as regular beer. And people were saying, like, who would drink beer without alcohol? It doesn't make any sense. Well, today, our Jupiler Zero is the best no-alcohol beer in the world. Because it's not a compromise, it's a choice. And it opened up beer for everyone. The pregnant friend, the cycling group, the designated driver, the responsible drinker. And that's not just innovation, that's inclusive brewing. That's changing culture, one cheers at a time. And finally, let's start talking about social impacts, because beer starts in the soil with our farmers. Around the world, we partner with thousands of farming families. We co-invest in regenerative agriculture to improve the biodiversity and keep our soil fertile for generations to come. We train brewers, we support entrepreneurs, we empower communities, because beer brewing is not just what happens inside the brewery, it's what happens before and after. And when we innovate, we keep them in mind as well. So when people ask me, what does innovation mean for beer? Then I say, it's not just about gimmicks and inventions. It's not even about taste. It's about brewing better beer for more people in a way that it strengthens communities, protects nature, and respects culture. It's about creating a future with more cheers. And when I started this journey, I thought that beer brewing was about science and taste. And now I know it's so much more. It's a platform for celebration. It's a canvas for connection. It's an opportunity for sustainable innovation, a way to tell new stories, an offer for more choice, to include more people, and cheers for more tomorrows. But while the journey is not finished yet, the path is clear. Because when we face the challenges of this century, like climate change, loneliness and inequality, I believe that beer in its own humble way can make a meaningful difference. Because beer has always been more than just a drink. It's been a companion to humanity in unity, in struggle, and in celebration. So if we keep dreaming big and innovate boldly and brew with heart, then beer will keep showing up for people. For you, for me, for us. So here's to that. Here's to people, here's to progress, here's to tomorrow. And I would like to finish with a cheers for the people that still have some left over in the can, that we can cheer together on the future. Cheers.